only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own. Welcome to Stu and the Nunn, an online show and podcast focused on national security, policy, politics, and selfless service. We are here to give you an honest opinion, a different perspective, and hopefully a few laughs. We do this by not only interviewing guests, but also sharing our own perspectives and asking you, the listener, to interact with us on our show chat room via our Facebook page and on Twitter. That's right, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Stu and the Nunn, March 11th. Toby's been talking about Metallica every week. I had to bring it tonight. There you go, Toby. How you doing, brother, in the Southern studio?
You know, so in the words of the controversial Canadian troubadour, Neil Young, keep on rocking in the free world.
There we go.
Because I not even 3 minutes ago in the virtual green room was talking about, like, you never know what's going to be played. You know, it could be anything from Barry White to some heavy metal, Metallica, and kaboom.
I had it set up. It was almost like we're connected like that. We're tight like that. I knew what you were looking for. And, you know, next week, it's probably going to be something on the other end of the spectrum. But, yeah, to bring that tonight. Hopefully we don't get canceled, shut down, or blocked on any of our media outlets because I probably played something copyrighted. But
Good thing it happened fast.
That's very good. How you doing down there in Southern Studio? How's the weather there in ATX, Georgetown, Texas?
You know, it's not too bad. You know, a little bit of cloud cover today, and just kept it, you know, chilling in the nice, temperate, you know, high 70s. Getting ready to head out on a VO hunt. Most of the crew are actually out already, you know, prepping the battlefield. But I will be going out in the AM, you know, to put the slaughter down on the pesky vermin. We're going to be doing our community service by killing some feral hogs on a ranch that's doing some. They're doing some damage.
Are you heli shooting off the helicopters? Or
no? We'll see. We'll see what the weather's like.
Oh, okay, good.
We'll see what the weather's like. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of, you know, inclement, which keeps these little birds down. So
yeah. Well, if it ain't raining, it ain't training. So, right. And well, up here in the northern studio, correct. I can tell you, up here in Western New York, it is. We were knocking your weather. We were 67 degrees yesterday, and that's a big jump up here for Buffalo area in March, but it's dropping right back down. But anyways, yeah, we was up there. I felt like I was in ATX for a little bit. Until I saw a bunch of New York plates and realized that, you know, while my governor's in the middle of hopefully getting impeached, that I was not in the free Republic of Texas anymore. So with that, I wanted to. What? Yeah,
let's bring out our guy, man. Let's bring out our guy.
We're bringing.
We got a cool cat. We got a cool cat tonight.
We do have a cool cat, and I gotta say, as you know, I am on Dave's Bellavia show, our most frequent guest, sometimes co-host on this show, and you know, all around good guy and good friend of ours.
He's a great guy.
Yep, I was on the show today. I'm on every Thursday at 11:30 to noon, WBEN.com. But right before me is this fine gentleman you see now, Mr. Omarr Hardaway, a.k.a. Big Smoov.
Thank you, Doctor. How are you doing, sir?
Good.
Thank you, brothers.
And he's got some good, you know, Dave his show's kicked it up a notch. We got opening music for every guest and all that kind of stuff, you know, and Omar's he had his long before mine, but today Dave had both of us on.
Yes, he did.
Talking about a unique subject I wasn't expecting. He texted me beforehand. I said, what are we going to talk about? And he told me cassettes and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, you're probably effing with me. Whatever. I guess I'll figure it out when I'm on there. Nope, we talked about cassettes and 8-tracks and old school music. But anyways, welcome, Omarr. How you doing, buddy?
Thank you, brother. I'm blessed, man. I'm ecstatic to be here.
We're glad to have you. And it was actually Dave's idea because Dave asked me, as you know, Toby, at the end of every show, he's like, who do you got on tonight? And I'm like, we just lost a guest. We're working on it. And he goes, why don't you get Omarr on? And I was like, that's an awesome idea. So as soon as we got off air, I was texting him. I'm like, give me his number. I'm like, let me see if I can get him. So that's how it came to be, just a few hours ago.
Well, the good news is, like Omarr is probably prepared to be on the show, because I don't know if like anyone has a hype man as much as David Bellavia.
Yes,
I mean,
sir.
he's the ultimate hype man. So like Omarr probably knows this is the greatest show on the internet that never really truly existed. So like, I mean, he's basically gonna get like tens of followers tonight. It's gonna be awesome.
You know what, brother? I'm ready. David is an exceptional human being, exceptional American, and this has nothing to do with him being a MOH recipient. I'm talking before he was awarded America's highest military award. Just an outstanding guy, and I'm glad that he's a part of my life.
Absolutely, yeah. We've been lucky to know Dave for many years, and like I said, he's been on the show a number of times. In fact, many times he comes in on a pinch and just like he's like driving home or something, and he's like, sure, I'll call in, and gives us 20-30 minutes after he spends all day on the air.
That's correct.
And yeah, he is a great guy. And we saw Omarr, we saw that generosity. Not only did we saw it maybe firsthand, but a lot of America saw it June of last year. And Dave mentioned your name a couple times, right? Not a speech of the Pentagon and stuff. And he did his best to put every one of his platoon members and team members front and center any chance he had to be. And how was that? Not only being at the White House and doing all that, but get up on the stage right next to the president and get your name echoed through the halls at the Pentagon and everything. How surreal was that?
It was amazing. It was, nevertheless, I expected nothing less from David, being whom he is. Not only, and you know the deal, Sarge, we put our soldiers first before we put ourselves first. David still aspired to ensure that happening, even though he was receiving the nation's highest honor. I mean, what is that like, brother? I mean, hey, listen, hey, Sarge, look, I'm getting a Medal of Honor, but I'm going to put y'all up there so that y'all can feel more special than I during my day. Come on now. That epitomizes what all America should be like, sir. It was one of the greatest feelings I've ever had.
Yeah. First time ever, that first Medal of Honor ceremony ever where they brought people up on the stage that weren't family, and Dave told me afterwards, he looked at the president and said, can I bring some of the guys up? And the president said, sure. Had no idea he was going to bring 20 plus people up on the stage, to the point that Dave stepped off and he had to get pulled back up. He was trying to step off the stage and make it all about everyone in the platoon. And like I say, that epitomizes who he is. I mean, that's a great example of who he is.
And you see this, it's nothing phony about it. You see his attributes as a man, as a soldier. And why wouldn't you be ecstatic to be his friend, to be his family member? To my dying day, I'm willing to put $100,000 on this. David will always put others before himself. How do I know? Because I'm a living witness of it, sir.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that now. I'm going to get into that a little bit about what happened in Fallujah, but before we get into that, can you give our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself? I mean, you served a number of years in the military. You've got multiple deployments. Can you give them a little bit of your background, and then we're going to dive into some of that other stuff?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. My name is Omarr Hardaway. I am a former staff sergeant, United States Army Infantry. 2-2 Infantry was the 2-2 Infantry First ID out of Vilseck, Germany. Was the last unit I served with. Did some peacekeeping missions, direct fire missions against enemy aggressors of the United States of America in Iraq, which was when that first tracer goes past your head, you realize how real it is. I did 11 years active duty. After my tenure in the Army expired, I went over to work for a company by the name of Northrop Grumman in Saudi Arabia. senior trainer gunnery tactics for the Saudi Arabian National Guard. After that expired, I came on back home, and currently I'm still serving, but in a different capacity. I'm serving as a commuter rail conductor. And when I say I'm serving in a different capacity, because I meet a lot of young Americans, and I'm trying to get them to see what it means to be an American, i.e., if you're not going to college, if you're not going to school, hey man, why don't you go serve your country? It's nothing wrong with serving your country. That's why I'm here with you brothers tonight, sir.
Yeah, and I gotta say, I said this to you beforehand. The show started. You right now have set the record as the most finely dressed guest we've ever had.
Matt Goss always puts it on.
Matt does, yes, but that's just Matt 24/7.
He's got competition.
He does. I did not think about that. You're right. I just told him how we had Undersecretary, Chief of Staff of the VA just a couple weeks ago who didn't even have a tie on, and it's Omarr and Braverstrom.
We're going to have to talk to the chief of staff about that. He knows better.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. So you did. So you came. You went and served. You served Kosovo and Iraq, right? A couple tours in Iraq. Toured Iraq, and then you got out, like you talked about. You went back and served. You went back over training our allies, demonstrating, teaching, and sharing your skills, knowledge, and abilities with our allied partners. The tactical and technical procedures needed to operate weapon systems, right?
Correct, sir. Both technical and tactical means to our allies.
Yeah, and then she went over and did that because obviously the Middle East such a fine place, you had to see it again, and went back over there. And how was that? I stood after I retired. I spent a couple years as a contractor. I went back over for a short time, but how was it for you going back over? Not geared up, not with the guys on your left and right, not with all the protection we normally have. Even though you were in a pseudo friendly country, what kind of any anxieties there? Any concerns? Were you always on situational awareness, always on point, waiting for the threat, or did you feel relaxed like you were back in the States?
I didn't feel relaxed like I was back in the States till probably about after my third year there. As well as you know, brother, the personnel we were fighting in Iraq came from Iran, Saudi Arabia, etc. So you have your OPSEC, but you're always wondering, was this one of the guys that I had a direct fire engagement with? Did I shoot his brother, uncle, cousin, nephew, etc.? So that's always in the back of my mind, and you gentlemen know that.
Yeah, you can't drop that hyper awareness. Go ahead, Toby.
Correct.
No, it's I had the great pleasure of training and and what became like the Iraqi army. It started off as the JSCS, then it was the ICDC, then it was the ING, and then it became
ING. Yes, sir.
And so like. The northern part, of the country, I had a big part in the standing up of that, from recruiting all the way to, training, arming, and employing. And they're always in the back of your mind, which one of these guys, is here for the wrong reason. And we learned that some of them were. And that those were expensive emotional lessons for us.
Have we been infiltrated?
Yeah,
and they're going to come for a guy like you, being the SME, subject matter expert, or whatsoever. So I would even say that you're as high as a company commander or whatsoever, Sarge, being the SME downrange.
Yeah, no, it was. We definitely found that some of those guys had ill intention and they weren't all altruistic in terms of their neighborhoods. When you came back, like I'm always fascinated about the transition period. Troy brought it up a little bit ago. What was it like when you got out and then you went back over without the guys and you're on your left and your right? I always look at contracting as like the halfway house back to civilization, right? Because every good every good infantry guy's probably tried to do it. You know, definitely every like operator's tried to do it. One, because there's like a slight financial uptick. You know, you're like,
By
well,
far.
I can do the same thing, but I can make 5 times as much. Cool.
Talk to me.
But then it's also, you know, you're trying to keep that umbilical cord. You're trying to keep tethered. You're trying to stay connected to that life, because you're not quite ready to part ways, even though like you're getting older, you're not as fast, and you know you're
Right.
tired of like the hurry up and wait, and you know
Right.
Omarr reports. But what was the transition then like for you? Because you know you're from the land of Lincoln, you're from the Windy City. You know, like that's a lot happening. That's a lot of people there. You know, like you kind of go from an area that is like that to an area that's like that, but completely different circumstances and different times. And so, like, you're an exceptionally well-spoken guy. You're eloquent. You know, you're thoughtful. And what was it like for you? You know, going from the hustle and bustle of violence to the hustle and bustle of modern civilization.
Or we could even say back to the hustle and bustle of violence yet again.
Yeah,
It,
true. I guess with Chicago, yeah.
I mean, it was, and
Sorry, was that our laugh?
no, sorry, that's not funny. That this is my home city, home state of Illinois. Um, it was horrific, sir,
Oh,
to know and see what's going on in this city. It was almost like being right back down range. To see babies shot, to see middle-aged people shot, to see the elderly shot, to see the poverty, to see schools not doing what they're supposed to do. It was horrific. And keep in mind, I didn't have my brothers with me no more to let me know, hey, Sarge, everything is going to be all right. I got your back. You just need to maintain and be straight and stalwart. So it was a horrific time for me. I was by myself. You understand, Sarge? And,
yeah, I do. I do understand the isolation. Yeah.
But being a non-com, I believe once you're a non-com, you're always going to be a non-com.
Agreed.
So you figure that, you know, I'm going through something right now. I just have to stick it out. I have to do what's right. I have to maintain my intestinal fortitude. I have to maintain my integrity. I have to maintain and be selfless to all people, to all Americans. And you just got to hope and believe something good would happen. I did not think my transition coming back home would be easy, but it was much worse than what I thought it was. And brother, keep in mind, now David was still in New York at the time, and when he knew that I got back home, he found me, and you know he did everything he could to make sure I was all right. Asking me, you need something, you want to come down here and see me. But I mean, we're men, so you want to try to stand up and be on your own 2 feet. But that was one of the most dramatic experiences besides combat that I ever went through. ACAP tries to prepare you for jobs, etc. ACAP does not train you to be without the brothers you fought and war with.
No, like every time like someone says ACAP, I have like this reflexive like almost chuckle, like almost smile, because you know when you think about the time and effort that is put into putting people into the military, right? So when you think of the selection of, and some recruiters going to think I'm like giving them a, you know, extra kudos here, but in theory, you know, Army recruiters are DA selected, Department of the Army selected, and they're selected for the purpose of performance. Right?
Correct.
So, you know, if you're being selected to hold this additional duty, this special duty, to become a recruiter, you've in some way impressed somebody on a piece of paper.
Sure, you're right.
In the infantry, you know, it's kind of a kiss of death because it jacks with your career a little bit.
You're done.
But we have the blessing of drill sergeant, so like correct. You know we can like circumvent the recruiting. But In a lot of the other MOSs, if you get asked to be a recruiter, you get selected to be a recruiter, that's quite the boon. It's quite the feather in the cap. And those guys and gals are, leaders in their field in theory, right? Like they're so good that we want to put our best foot forward into the community to entice people to join our service, because we want the best and inspiring people out there.
Roger,
you think about
I don't mean to interrupt you, Sarge, but so basically, sir, you're saying intake and exit strategy, pretty much.
You're right, but they're completely different. So
completely
intake,
different.
You put the best foot forward.
Show you right.
Yeah.
Show you right.
You put the best foot forward. You pick these great people, and you and you put them through a school. Recruiting school is arduous. You gotta learn a bunch of stuff, and you gotta pass an ethics course, and you gotta they even run your credit. I mean, it's super serious. Yeah, you could and then it's okay, that's to get you in. Then you spend say you do the bare minimum. You do 4 years, right? You do your little 4 and 4, and you're ETSing, you're checking out. They put zero effort. They're not giving you the best and the brightest to help you get out. They're not putting those guys at ACAP through a school. No, they're hey, read the PowerPoint presentation.
Talk to me.
And the guy that's pissed off that got tasked with that PowerPoint presentation that day. Maybe now and then you got the guy that's trying to max out his VA rating and he's motivated because he thinks he's going to max it out. He's in that room, inspired. He's telling you, this is how you get 100%. This is how you cheat the system. This is how you get what you deserve, or whatever it is. But you're not getting the best and the brightest. They're not investing money in training. I remember them saying this is a resume class, and I built this resume, and then I shared it with this business mentor of mine who just happened to be a retired colonel, and he looked at it and he's like, what this isn't going to do you any good. I wouldn't hire you with this. We don't use resumes. You need to build, you need to attract people. You need to give them hyperlinks. No one's walking in with a piece of paper. You need to email and a great attention-getting cover letter, and then you need to inspire them to follow your work and find out what you've done and see it, and find testimonials. And everything that they did is archaic and antiquated because they don't care. A guy could spend 25 years in, and they don't spend $1,000. They don't spend $1,000 to help that guy or gal transition after a career in the service. But if to put the person in, they'll spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. I would love to see the budget breakdown of per recruit, per successful recruit, dollars spent. When you think of the recruiting station, when you think of the salaries, the BAH, the fleet vehicles, they put money into that. ACAP, they're oh, we got this book that was written in 1970, from Army gray to corporate gray, Army green to corporate gray. Here, read this. We're going to teach you how to write a resume. Don't worry that no one's actually going to accept it. And, hey, we're going to give you some interview. Oh, you did a promotion board? You already know what an interview is like then. You're good to go.
And, not going to happen.
And that's your training. Anytime someone says ACAP, I'm man, we're failing people. And that's one of the reasons why number one reason transitions are hard, because you go from an amazing support structure and fellowship and brotherhood, and you're surrounded by love and support, to being all alone and looking at everyone around you, and they're alien. They're absolutely alien to you.
First and foremost, sir, the word you used or utilized was antiquated. I am not in no shape, form, or fashion here to bash the United States Army. However, facts are the facts, and the truth is the truth. The exit strategy for soldiers transitioning from the military to civilian life is totally outdated. And we and I don't know, brother, maybe folk like you and I need to address this more with our civilian leadership to see if we can do something about that, because we know what it's like to come home off that antiquated system.
Yeah. Well, I want to jump in real quick though. But things have definitely gotten better since when I got out,
Yeah.
much less when you guys got out, right? There's a number of programs in there, and hopefully they learned from the trials that we walked, right? Hopefully they realized that telling the infantryman, hey, go be a cop. That's literally what I heard when I got out of active duty was you can be a cop, and I'm going into IT, right? So it was, that's and I was 11 Charlie, so they said, well, you can be a cop or a surveyor. I had that extra add on because I knew how to run an M2 aiming circle, and I knew what 6,400 mils were instead of 360 degrees. But definitely it's gotten better. But I want to come back to something if we can. You're now a conductor. Communal train conductor. You are still out there in your community. Granted, it's a job, you're getting paid. You're not doing voluntary, but you are out there providing a service to your community. Your community being Chicago, which is, there's websites set up about the violence dedicated to keep the stats on the violence and the murders and everything on there. As a lifelong born and bred person from Chicago, I imagine there's got to be days you come home and just have to be taxed and just so down and disappointed to see. I mean, you talked about shootings of people. It's not just assaulting people on the streets, pushing people over, harassing folks. I mean, I've seen all that in Chicago in better times, not even probably what it's like now. I imagine some of that's just got to be just really draining on you to see this from a city that you know and love.
First and foremost, Chicago is a wonderful, beautiful city that dates back to great, exceptional Americans. To see what's going on and what's been going on is astonishing. And being from Chicago, I always question myself, and I want to know why. How is it that, sir, being Staff Sergeant, United States Army, secret clearance, United States Army Master Gunner, when I come back home, it's so hard for me to get a weapon? Okay, it took like 8 to 10 months for me to get a weapon legally.
8 to 10 minutes illegally, but 8 to 10 months.
Yeah.
All right. Now we're talking about people who don't know the maximum effective ranges of weapons. We're talking about people who don't know how to break down weapons. We're talking about people who don't carefully know how to zero a weapon. But they have weapons and in 8 to 10 minutes. How does that happen?
Now,
how does that happen?
So I'm going to ask you, Omarr. I know your politics because I've heard you enough talking on Dave's show, and but I also know that you're fair. And you're not blinded by one side or another. You approach things because I've heard you and Dave have many civil conversations. Where do you? I mean, obviously Chicago has been run by pretty much one side of politics and stuff, and there's a lot of that. I mean, it's known, as sad as it is. Besides the Windy City, it's always been known about corruption in politics, even though we know that exists everywhere. Chicago's
correct,
from the dailies, and all that kind of stuff and everything, and just the mobs and all that, but. Do you see that as a reflection of just the mindset? Because you go a little bit outside of Chicago. You go west of Naperville, and it's nothing like Chicago, right? You go a little bit south or a little bit north, and it's like you're out in the country. I mean, do you see that as a result of just people not paying attention and not thinking about who they're putting in office at the local level all the way up?
From local, state, federal level, of course, sir. But it's more to it than just gun violence that ensures that these horrific atrocities continue to happen. Now we're talking about poverty. We're speaking about an education system that is not geared toward the people it's supposed to be geared towards. Now, I think initially, sir, you're asking me, due to the gun violence, why are people in Chicago still voting democratically? Correct?
Yeah, it could be if they think that's part of the issue. I don't know if they would consider that part of the, and I don't know if it is the issue. I mean, gun violence is because people aren't being reined in, right? Everything's done through carrots and sticks, and if you don't have a stick, strong enough on people, they're going to do whatever they want.
The violence in my city is due to certain things that I've just outlined. Number one is poverty, jobs, um, inequality, um, and that's pretty much it. Now, the Democrats have not. You know what, Sarge? I tell you this. A while back, I was telling everybody, we just need to get a battalion or a few company-sized elements of infantry soldiers, and anytime a round is shot off, we need to go assault that objective because we know where that round will be coming from, and that will end it. Because in this city, sir, we still have Americans who pay their taxes,
Yeah,
who are drug-free, who are crime-free, okay, and they should be afforded the right to live like every other American. And as far as should we pretty much vote for Republicans to be in charge, now we're talking about something totally different because we have another element that's being intertwined.
I'm not sure it's even Republicans. It's just different people than the same old, which seems like people just get rehashed in some of those political offices, right? They don't really change out too much.
Right. You're truly correct. I mean, so what do we go with term limits? What do we do? Because this cannot keep on happening. These babies walking to school, innocent babies walking to school. They've done nothing to nobody. And when I was coming up, rule number one was you don't mess with babies and you don't mess with women. Okay, now it seems like that's pretty much been thrown out of the window. And if it was up to me, as I just said, I would take a battalion, maybe a brigade of infantry, and assault the objective or assault wherever somebody was shot at in the city. How do you keep killing Americans?
Yeah.
How do you keep killing Americans, but you won't go fight for your country? Come on now.
It's funny.
What's going on?
You mentioned getting your pistol permit legally. I remember when it happened. I have a number of friends, and Toby and I have a good friend in Chicago that got. I mean, I have other friends in that area that when that law finally passed where you could get a pistol permit, even though they make you pay a lot of money and jump through a lot of hoops. Since that time, I'm a big Second Amendment guy. Toby is, and I keep an eye. I keep an eye on the news. And there's a lot of the cases are increasing where a good guy with a gun, somebody with a lawful gun in Chicago, has stopped a crime, has stopped something, has either they've stopped the person by shooting him, or they've just deterred their aggression or whatever it was. We're seeing that happen more and more. I just wonder why people, regardless of party, don't see that the good guy with the gun is the only thing that can stop the bad guy with the gun.
That's very much so true, sir. But as I said in the initial part of this, what needs to happen is we need to figure out how these weapons are getting into this city illegally. That's number one. I mean, you got AR-15s, M16s, 223s. You got Uzis. You've got AK-47s in the city. How is that happening?
Well, Australia is an island all to itself, which has no guns, and there's so many guns in Australia. They're not being brought across the border. They're coming in on planes and ships, and it's like that's a country that's isolated from everywhere else, and they have a huge gun problem in Australia. And so,
and you know what, brother? We elect people to figure these problems out.
Yeah.
So this is what our leadership is supposed to be doing right now. And it's been going on for so long. I'm starting to think if it's almost like, do you want a genocide to occur? Do you?
If we look at numbers and we look at what the international community equate that definition to, you're actually knocking on the door of it. I'm not saying that to be facetious. I'm not saying that to be a jerk. Once like you said something earlier talking about the heartbreak of your city, I kind of took a step back and I was like, oh man, Troy and I have a really good friend that's in Chicago. We were talking, a couple times a week, and we have a bit of a banter going back and forth, but to put it in perspective, it's not to be made light of. One of the things that kind of captured my attention about something you said was, you're talking about assaulting the objective, right? Something far more simpler to that is just consequence. And there's clearly a cultural shift, and why there's a cultural shift. Anytime you look at cultural shifts and behaviors then become less, and meaning they become more frequent, they become is because the consequence has gone down. There's a lack of consequence, and a lot of times the reason there's a lack of consequence is because there's the need to justify the cause, and sympathy is provided towards the cause. Like, well, this group or this location, they have this problem, so we're going to give them some leniency because of this problem. Like, leniency when it comes to violence should never be accepted.
No type of leniency should be accepted, sir, within any local, state, county, anywhere throughout this country. Yeah. But brother, not only do we have a problem in Chicago, now to not totally change the subject, but to go in a different manner. You had Americans being killed in a church. Okay, so and you're speaking of leniency. However lenient we are about weapons, how do you go and pray with someone and shoot them and kill them? So
I'm assuming we're talking about Dylan Roof.
By far, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I should have said the name. I'm sorry.
No.
So
he doesn't deserve to have his name said, but I just want to make sure I understand the context. Yeah. So
now, if you want to talk about one spectrum, let's talk about another. Is it a disease?
Send it.
Is it a disease, Sarge, that's going on within our country? Now, people like you and I as civilians, we're only going to use our weapons for defensive measures only. We're not going to go out. But excuse me, sir.
I said, yeah, I agree.
Roger that. We're not going to go out here. Yeah. And how can someone think from the depths of their soul and to the back of their mind, I'm finna go kill another American?
They did nothing. They did nothing to me. That I have I don't have it. Like, they didn't hurt my family. They didn't do anything to me. Yeah. I don't even know them from Adam. And to go
that is a super perplexing case, and
it's very much so perplexing.
It's super perplexing.
Even to the after effect, even to the survivors who immediately were so strong in their faith that they forgave him before he even got booked. And that blew, I mean, a lot of people maybe not remember because it's not in the news all the time, but that was one of the most astonishing things, besides the fact that he prayed with these people in his church and then did this, was that the survivors and the loved ones of those people said, we're so strong in our faith. Because I know a lot of us, including Toby and I are both God-fearing men, and said the same thing, said, I don't know if I could do that. I don't know if I'm that strong.
You know what?
I'm grateful they did, because there was no follow-on violence as a result of their actions. So
thank God.
If they had the foresight and the understanding, the maturity to know that by issuing those statements of forgiveness and understanding, which I don't know how they did, they saved a lot of lives. They saved a lot of lives because the violence that would have followed, the follow-on violence, the secondary and the tertiary violence that would have followed as a result of that. Because we see it in other situations where it's a vicious circle, right? One act of violence then causes retribution, which causes retribution, and here we go down the spiral. That situation is perplexing, because I don't think that's a cultural situation. I think that was more of a mental health situation. Definitely disease. That guy is demented. I don't know how you could sit in the house of God, seek fellowship with people, and then at the completion of that fellowship, just kill them. It's so perplexing. That case is so perplexing, but I don't think that's a cultural thing. I don't think, like,
It's
I don't
a
think there was a cultural shift that led him to do that. I might be mistaken, but
and
from
and
my
and
perspective, I don't see the cultural shift different.
and you
If
know what?
unless I'm missing something that you said.
Oh, no, 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 no. I've gained respect for you all because I brought up a topic, and you all agreed with me. Um,
Oh, for sure.
Now, thank you, brother. I appreciate that. However, I would say it's a minority, not a majority, but a minority of a of a culture that's willing to do something so horrific.
Oh, it's such a it's
Okay.
such a minority. It's almost immeasurable. I mean,
Like it's
yeah,
so minuscule,
yeah.
minuscule. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, we've seen a number of church shootings that have happened. Sugarland, Texas,
Yeah.
Antioch, Tennessee. A number of church shootings that have happened. That people came in from the outside that did not have a connection with those, or if they maybe knew, but they didn't sit there and fake and feign like a fellowship with them. They came from the outside. They walked in knowing what they were going to do. And from Sugarland, Texas is a great example where just gunning people down. And but this was at a level of just can't even comprehend. Like Toby said, we've all of sitting down with people. They held hand, they prayed, they said things, and to show that compassion and empathy, knowing you're faking it the whole time. I mean, the reason a lot of us in the military, a lot of people in the military come back and they have some issues in coming back is that because the military does a great job in training us to go against what's in our DNA, and that's to take another human life regardless enemy or not. It's not what we're meant to do because if you're raised with morals and values, right? So they have to train us to desensitize us to those are human beings, to those are moving target indicators or whatever we want to call them. And then we go in, we do our job, we find, fix, and kill. But it's after we come back and things calm down and that adrenaline stops, then we start to go, what you see, smell, hear something, and it brings
Talk
you back.
To me,
right?
Talk to me. Talk to
right?
me. Talk
You
to
think
me.
of it
Show you right.
because
Right.
we have morals and values and beliefs. So for us to look at what this kid did or other people have done, to sit there and go, we can't comprehend it, and we've taken lives and we can't comprehend it because that's not something we do naturally.
And thank you, brother. That's why I cannot comprehend what is going on in the city of Chicago. Okay,
Understandable, yeah.
I cannot.
Do you think they're
And
desensitized by culture, by movies, by music, by everything that's going on? Do you think they're desensitized? I mean, think about Omarr when we were raised, right? You did something wrong. The worst thing you did not want Dad to find out, right? You did not want you.
You didn't want to go home.
No, because you knew you were about to. You're like, principal, you can paddle me, but don't call my family.
Don't call my dad.
Because we knew what the outcome was going to be, and that was our motivator not to get in trouble. And when we did, we knew it was going to happen. People today don't have that motivation. Just the other day in my town, someone stole a car. OnStar, they tracked it. This just happened a week ago. They went to the person's house. They knock on the door, and the mom answers, and he goes, "Anyone home?" He said, "Yeah, my 15-year-old son." And she's like, "Well, we think he stole this car. Got drove." She's, "Well, I don't know where the car come from." She's like, "Did you see him drive it?" Like he's the only other one in the house, right?
Right.
And she told him, "Oh, he went out at 4 a.m. because he said he had business to do." A 15-year-old at 4 a.m. on a weekend said he had business to take care of. She didn't question that, and then she didn't. She argued with the police to say, "Well, did you see him drive it? How do you know he stole it?" I mean, it starts at home. It truly starts at home.
And you know what? No holds barred here. Within certain communities in Chicago, we're lacking father figures inside of homes. That has given black families a major gut punch in the kidney. And it seems like as if we've had a hard time reorganizing from that and understanding and sustaining the importance of having a father in the house, or not even a father, just being family oriented. I know when I was coming up, brother, we were all family oriented, and it means a lot. Now, and brothers, I'm not throwing nothing in your face, please believe, but I will go ahead and revert back to you all's initial question of what's going on in Chicago. Sarge, I don't know if it's I don't know. But we have to do something. We can't keep letting this go on. We can't keep letting babies be killed.
Yeah.
We can't. What we need, brother, we need is for more Americans to be vocal about this. Where are our fellow Americans at? Talking about what's going on in Chicago. And as well as you all know this, united we stand, divided we're going to fall.
Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question?
Whatever you want, brother.
Yeah, and you know, so last summer we saw a crazy high trajectory, right, of violence in a myriad of ways. Some was just a continuation of violence. Some was violence that was of opportunity due to, large gatherings, protests, current, rhetoric that was going around in all circles that kind of promoted it, kind of blessed off on it.
Are you pretty much talking about Black Lives Matter? Talk to me. What are you?
So that's part of it.
Okay.
They're not the only. No, I'm not. They don't get sole ownership. For
okay,
sure.
Thank you, Roger. That.
They don't. They definitely don't get sole ownership.
Okay, brother. You guys are fair.
Yeah. Oh, of course.
Roger that.
Now you made the commentary about like, hey, let's bring in an element and let's hammer it.
We went from company to brigade, by the way, in that conversation. He started as a company and he worked his way up to brigade.
Escalation of force.
I didn't say battalion. I didn't say battalion.
No,
you did.
He was like,
you jumped battalion, then you went to brigade.
He was like,
hey, because you know what
like,
something
let's
needs to
go
be
right
done.
to brigade.
But violence begets.
So last summer, in several cities across the country, federal help was offered to help this scenario. How did you feel about the federal government sending people to assist in these matters? Because you just asked, how about the fellow Americans? Like, so last summer there was the offer of help, and some of your community leadership, obviously rejected it. Felt like that was an imposition. Felt like it didn't belong. Were you in support of that federal help? Not who sent it. I'm just saying, in concept and in theory, because you said earlier that you were down for like a small element handling some biz. Do you think that we should put more federal help into places? Because we currently have federal help helping a local municipal police force currently today, and they just got extended. So
Roger that. Roger.
So like,
yes,
are you down for federal help, like to kind of help in some of those things?
Sir, I'm down for whatever sustains and maintains our democracy. Okay, first and foremost.
Yeah.
Now, if during the summer of last year, sir, or when all of these crowds were doing things that were not legitimate, or when they were just breaking the law.
Right.
If a state feels that they need help, then whom am I to say, sir, what that state does or does not need?
Right.
Now, when I think now, and brothers, I'm gonna have to talk to you all again, because I think we're gonna get a little bit deeper.
You're always welcome. You're always welcome, my dude.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now
you can see why he's on Dave's show every week. They always got
good stuff to talk about.
Now, sir, please, I am not being hypocritical. I am not being hypocritical, sir.
I wasn't insinuating that.
No.
No,
because I would tell you, if a state deems necessary that they need something, I'm all for it. But then, case in point, I do not think, and this is why I said I don't want to sound hypocritical, I do not think no active duty troops need to be on American soil.
Gotcha.
I don't.
And I don't think, and I don't think any were offered. I think it was all law enforcement agencies, federal law enforcement agencies.
But a lot of these law enforcement agencies, sir, are pretty much militarized.
Well, they have military gear, but
well, they have the same concept of you and I when we go to combat, sir. Of hey, come on, Sarge, this is the enemy. They're the enemy. We have to take care of each other and make sure we're okay.
I would say to a degree they do, but where you and I go to combat, when we breach that door, we're in that 4-man stack. We're shooting everything in the room, right? Where
by far,
right? When we see enough breaches happen when local, state, and federal law enforcement they break the door, right? And for the most 99% of the time, they don't come in there shooting everything, right? We know there's been some cases, but they come in there and try to detain and keep people from flushing drugs and running out the back door and stuff like that, right? We breach, bang, and clear. Right. And so I would say that the scale of violence or the scale of actions definitely is different. Yeah. The concepts are the same, and that is element of surprise, shock.
By far.
Right. That kind of
by
stuff.
Far. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And
the biggest complaints about the techniques, tactics, and procedures of last summer wasn't that they were rolling around in MRAPs. Like what actually got everyone's attention was the fact that they were going around in rental minivans
and snatching people up.
Like. Because it was effective. It blended in. Like they could roll up in a minivan. They saw someone instigating. They saw people like doing like physical destruction of property. They witnessed it. That it met the criteria.
Which is totally unsatisfactory.
And then they scooped them up. And and I'm like, hey, they got people that are trained to do that versus and. I'm Canadian, so I have like this like sweet, empathy, vein and apologetic vein on my other side. And, the Canadian law enforcement is federalized, right? The academy is federalized. You go to Regina, which is in the great province of Saskatchewan, and you become, you serve Her Majesty and you become one of the Royal, Canadian Mounted Police. You don't then be like, oh, well, I'm going to go serve my community. No, like, they deliberately send you as far away from your community as possible so that you don't have those community attachments. You have to create those community attachments. You have to build that community policing, but then you don't have the influence and the bias of being from that community. And I got to tell you, like, I watched, and it broke my heart, watching some of those guys, those police guys and gals standing on those lines, just trying to do their job, protect innocent people's property, protect innocent people's lives. And they're being forced to do it against their neighbor, and being put in the hard position of trying to, while perhaps they understand and they sympathize with their neighbor's plight, and they know that their neighbor has the right to address grievance because of the First Amendment, but they're like, as soon as they turn it to criminality, I'm gonna have to do something, but I don't want to. Like I don't want to put myself and I empathize for those police officers, because I know like what we asked of them and what we ask of them in our communities is very hard all the time.
Brother, Sarge, and let's go back to Chicago. Chicago is totally, 95, 96, 97% blue. Nobody's asking to defund the police.
Nobody. I didn't think so, yeah.
No, I'm just talking to you, sir. I just wanted to bring up some talk points. These officers, they have their integrity and they do their job. But however, you've got one or two who minimize the importance of what they do. But nobody's ever called for the defunding of the police. I work with officers. These officers whom I work with are willing to sacrifice themselves for me. They're willing to sacrifice themselves for people who they don't know. I know this to be true. However,
there's some jackwagons.
Okay, see, there you go again. You got. You know what? You guys are the no spin factor. I'll go ahead and you know what? I didn't think I was gonna come on you brother's show and be able to say this aloud. You guys are the no spin factor. Why can't our leadership figure out what to do in Chicago? Why can't they? We could put a man on the moon. We can shoot rockets, missiles that hits other continents. If somebody shoots at us, we even know where that round or missile comes from. You mean to tell me? Say again, Sarge?
And now we can land the rockets.
And now we can land it.
That's great.
But we can't figure out how these weapons are getting into the city.
Well, I don't think it's so much of weapons getting to the city, Omarr. I think it's and I this problem, like they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. This problem didn't happen overnight, right? It's generational and
Tested over time.
And generational not only through at the local and the house and the family, but it's generational in this politics and leaders and those in power and influence, right? Because there's there's people that have passed down and made the buck and see it as a position of authority and to get rich, and people are corrupt.
Roger
and so on. So it's across all that. So what does it take to break that cycle, right? There's no, in my opinion, there's no silver bullet. It's a just like a complex maneuver attack, right? To put it in military terms, right? You don't just hit from one angle, right? We flank, we take over the air, we do all these. We have an IO campaign,
lift and shift,
right? We got to hit from multiple directions using multiple weapons, if you would, right? And that's community policing, that's in the schools, that's in the homes, that's also enforcing laws, but doing it fairly. It's got to come from every angle at once. It can't.
You missed one angle, sir.
I didn't hit them all, but what's the one I haven't mentioned yet?
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
You missed the angle of unified Americans.
Yeah.
During the civil rights movement, there wouldn't have been no civil rights. If it would have just been up to Black Americans, we wouldn't have had no civil rights. But we had our white brothers and sisters coming to march with us, whom even died with us to ensure that we had civil rights.
Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't.
A unified America can stop what's going on in Chicago right now, because I don't know if it's that our leadership, our political leadership, doesn't want to stop it, but I know one thing: they haven't stopped it. That's what I do know. But if we came together and focused on what's going on in Chicago, I'm willing to bet you that it will stop, sir.
Yeah.
I'm sure about that.
So let me ask you one thing, real quick. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Toby, and then I'm gonna ask him something.
Yeah, no. So I think you're onto something, obviously, and we were talking about this earlier in a completely unrelated thing, and we're talking about like the long-term play, right? We were talking about the transition of the military. We're talking about ACAP, right?
Right.
Someone in our chat room, Mandy Spanton, who's like, good family friend and family member of Troy, asked a question earlier on. They're like, well, what would you do? And I feel like these are kind of related. And I know it doesn't sound like these subjects are related, but the resolution or like the goal in these are similar in the sense that you're trying to make a cultural change.
Yes, sir.
Right? And so we talked about being non-coms for life.
Roger that.
Like I still know the creed.
Yes, sir. No one is more professional than I.
I didn't learn the creed because it was something I had to do on a stage at PLDC. It was something that I learned because I was entering into a fraternity. I was entering into a group, and I believe that I was called to be what that creed was. And for me to like, and I had to do that. And so one of the things I felt was super important as a non-commissioned officer, especially as I became a senior non-commissioned officer, and I have guys transitioning out of the military, was to counsel them, but not 2 weeks before the ETS, not as they were getting ready to go in terminal. No, like 1 year out. We start counseling them about re-enlistment. We start counseling about, you're not going to re-enlist? What are you going to do? Are you taking college courses? What's your college plan? Have you filled out your FAFSA? And like, you're going to be a student? Prove it. Let's go become a student. Oh, you're going to go be a pipe fitter? Awesome. Where are you doing your apprenticeship? Let's research that. Let's find out. Let's contact the pipe fitters union. And so having like a, engagement throughout the community at different levels, and then having, like you said, a unified or cohesive, passing of the torch to make sure that this mission gets accomplished. It could be very similar with the community violence that we're dealing with. Like you said, there's a shortage of, 2-parent households. Like that's where we need teachers. In many cases in America, the teacher is the additional parent. We need teachers, like truly speaking in, not teaching a test. We need teachers molding and speaking into the life and truly shaping, not like creating, like political followers, not doing that. We need to utilize the people that have the influence on people's lives to speak into it. We need the coaches.
I would diverse it more than just that, Toby. I would any social group. Yes, small group leaders in churches, scout leaders, local community center counselor. Anytime you could have another sphere of influence enter a young person's life as they're growing up that maybe missing that out of one part of their life, but getting it from others, right? But that means being involved with those groups. That means, going to church,
volunteering,
or doing this, volunteering,
giving time.
Right. Whether it's community center, Big Brothers, Boys, Girl Scouts, church, whatever. What do they say, right? It takes a village to raise an idiot, right? Yeah. So,
love your neighbor.
Right. Yeah. And that's that coming together, Omarr, that you're talking, right?
Yeah. That's the unification. Love your neighbor.
Sarge, I don't mean to go 360 degrees. A unified America can move mountains.
We've seen it. We saw it September 12th, 2001, September 13th, right?
And you know what, Sarge? And everybody, don't take this the wrong way. At times, I don't want no American to lose their life. But at times, I'm like, do we need another September 11th in order to get America unified again?
Omarr, we've talked about that so many times on this show.
Okay.
So I know I'm telling you, we've said that same topic. Is that what it's going to take? Is it going to take another December 7, 1941, or September 11th?
Roger that.
Or something of that. Is it going to take something horrific to bring this country back to what matters and focus on what's really important?
Do Americans know we're fighting with each other? Do we know how many people already want to destroy us?
Yeah.
I'm talking about waiting for the help.
I'm talking about externally.
Yeah.
Not internally.
Iran, China.
That's just a few.
Korea. Side, the north side.
Yeah.
Wow. Once they saw that's just the north side, right? Yeah. We haven't even went to the south, right? Roger that.
But you're right. Yeah, there's enough external threats that the internal ones, the ones on the outside, are just waiting for us to feed on each other, right? They're just waiting to tear each other down.
Waiting. They're sitting back laughing at us right now because of what happened during the past year in our country. They don't have to implement any moles.
They just have to enable and stir the nest, right? And whether it's Black Lives Matter, Antifa, some far right, far left, it does not matter group. All they have to do is just throw some fuel on the fire and let us eat ourselves, right? What would happen? I'll take this back, and I don't know every situation you guys ran into, right? In Iraq, different than when I ran Afghanistan, but you had different factions in the country, right? Shia, Sunni, all the different ones. What would happen when they started fighting each other? I'm sure you guys had situations, both of you did, in separate theaters and separate battles, where they would fight each other and we just sit back right inside our fob watching outside the wire going, yeah, kill each other. You make life easier for us, right?
That's all.
It's the same thing we had in Afghanistan. As tribes fight against each other, we just sit back and watch and say, once they get done with each other, we'll come in and clean up what's left.
And if we were to intervene in one of those direct fire engagements that they would have against one another, they would stop fighting each other and fight us.
Yeah. Hey, we're going to shift topics here real quick. I was going to get into this earlier, but we have a person in our chat room who has a
very important question.
Very important question. True or false?
I didn't do it.
Omarr shot more HE rounds in 2 hours in Iraq than the entire Gulf War. He was.
He is a human
spendex. Have you ever seen a barrel change on a Bradley fighting vehicle? Yes.
Did you now? So you're Juliet 3, right?
I'm
building. Yeah, you're like a building 6500 Prodigy. Were you out there changing a barrel? Like that's work, Hoss.
What, Sarge? I'm gonna be honest with you. I didn't go to I didn't become a master gunner till after Iraq.
But
However, we had quote unquote company master gunners who would teach us how to do these types of things.
Yeah,
you know the deal, Sarge.
But he
unspecified.
I was in a mech unit.
But he mastered it. He mastered it in the streets of Fallujah, melting that barrel.
Savage, man. I love it.
No, I
Just for our listeners and viewers who don't know, we use this color code system: green, yellow, red, black.
Red, black.
Right, green, amber, red, black on fuel, on ammo, on anything. And according to our good
cleanup cycles.
Yes, according to our good friend Dave Bellavia, who's in the chat, right? He said that Hardaway went black on ammo in every fight. Dude went through 300 rounds at everything he shot at. So I love it that you were trying to give to our enemies all the good stuff that America gave to you to give on to them.
Hey, Sarge, let me tell y'all a story, man, if you don't mind.
No, by all means. Tell us about that time you saw Bellavia in the thermals. What was he doing?
Oh, my God. This dude here, man, he's riding donkeys and stuff, and then next thing you know, something, we improvise by
family show.
ID blows up, family show. Sarge, let me tell y'all something, man. About 4 months ago, I was talking to my psychiatrist, and I just started thinking about what happened downrange. And one of our fellow non-commissioned officers, his name is Staff Sergeant Fitz, and I can say his name
because
that's
Fitz.
My brother.
Yeah.
Oh my God! If you know Fitzy, oh my goodness.
I got to know him well last June. Yeah.
Okay, one of the most technically proficient and tactfully proficient NCOs you will ever meet. He got shot by an RPK, hit him 6 or 7 times. And I can't shake that. I can't. In a way, I kind of feel bad because I was providing Overwatch with my M242, 25 mic. You all know the deal. 3,000 meters, total 3750.
Bushmaster chain gun.
Bushmaster chain gun, yes sir. And Fitzy got hit, and I didn't know how that would affect me to this very day. That a fellow non-com got shot 6 times. And then he came back to the fight when he was healed.
Yeah.
And guys, you know what? If I'm getting sentimental, so be it. No, I'm sorry.
No. Luckily, Fitzy's still here, being ornery with that Southern Mississippi accent.
Totally
still causing trouble. Yes.
Totally.
And I remember Dave telling me not once, but ended up getting shot by 3 different weapon systems while he was over there, which means he came back.
Are you
twice.
a magnet? Are you?
I know. You don't want to be near Fitzy.
Stay away from me, bro. But now I'm gonna tell you guys something that's very funny. Hey, Sarge, because we're military guys, so we're everybody's in the day room and we just drew weapons out. So I see this skinny, mid-size staff sergeant walk into the arms room and yell, "Cotton balers!" Now, I didn't know the regiment Cotton balers at the time, okay? I know it now. I'm like, "Hey, Sarge, what the hell did you just say? Cotton balers? Are you talking about black people picking cotton?"
What do you mean?
What do you mean? What are you talking about? He like, "You know what? Me and you, we gonna be good friends." Man, Sarge, that guy taught me so. He and Bell, Fitz, and Sergeant Brown raised me to be a non-commissioned officer. But Sergeant Fitzy that day, he's like, "You know what, Sarge? Me and you, we gonna be good friends. And I'm gonna let you know about the real cotton balers." I'm like, "What?" And then and to this very day, that unit is known as the Cotton Balers. I just thought I'd share that story. I'm quite sure you brothers have something that happened during your tenure that you could tell America about. Hey, Sarge, did I answer your question that you just asked me from a guest?
Well, that was yes.
We
That was
did.
our
We
guest
did.
being Dave
Okay, yes,
Bellavia
sir.
about you
Yeah.
Oh, this
shooting.
guy.
Yeah, about you shooting more HE
This
rounds
guy.
in 2 hours than in the entire Gulf War. I guess you were known for.
You did a barrel change.
Yeah.
You did a barrel change under fire.
Hey, but again,
David,
now just we can't see it on screen, but you were about 6'4", which is
I am, sir.
which is a lot of body sticking out on top of
That's
a Bradley
surface
turret.
That's a
It's-
surface area right
It's
there.
it is a sound. It's a lot of body, sir.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot sticking up. So you
It's a
you
lot
got to
of
keep
body.
the
That's
heat
a
on
tight
them.
fit in that turret.
It's a horrifically
Did you have,
tight fit.
So when you were picking your gunner, did you pick them by like size?
Like,
Were you like, hey, I'm 6'4",
I'm
I'm picking
big.
up this
You're
much of
down
the turret.
here. You're down
You got to be 5'5" or below.
Well,
And,
Sarge,
if
when
you
I
could be like 130 pounds, that'd be perfect.
well when I was an E5 and I went and became the platoon leader's gunner. He was also 6'4". He was like a robot. He would have these. He was a ranger. Go figure, a ranger in a mechanized vehicle. And then when I got promoted to staff, I went on to become platoon sergeant, headquarters company. But it was a horrifically tight fit. And then if you had a malfunction, you got to take the upper receiver off, see what's going on with the lower receiver. It was horrifically tight. Then you got to load your ammo up. But I when I brought up 50, Roger that. I brought up 50 Sarge because of the ammo. Um, we're there as mechanized infantry to provide suppressive fire so that our dismounted element can go ahead and assault the objective. And when Fitzy got hit, that it hurt then, but it hurt me even more now, and that was kind of bewildering to me, Sarge.
And you guys are still tight, right? I know you guys
are.
are.
Oh, brother, yes, sir, yes, sir. It's and that's why no one can tell me nothing about the United States military. This isn't nothing that's white, black, orange, brown, or green. This is American. That I was Sarge, my sergeant major. I picked him up, and he asked me, "Hey, Sergeant Hardaway, what color are you?" And I'm like, "What color am I? What's wrong with you? What are you talking about, Sergeant Major?" I'm like, "I'm black." He was like, "No, you're not. You're green." And that stayed with me. I wish that more Americans could hear that and act upon what my sergeant major told me, sir.
Yeah.
One of the greatest things about the military that is overlooked, and one of the reasons why I'm like, I hate to say that I'm deeply offended, but my feelings are definitely hurt about how the military is kind of being treated in the past couple of weeks. Having we're going to investigate the character of people because they're serving the military. Because one of the greatest things that I found about the military, one of the things that I told my dad repetitively, and my dad didn't understand. He's Canadian. He didn't understand why I wanted to be in America, let alone be in the American military. And I just remember telling my dad, and I, to this day, try to explain to people how important this little thing is. In the military, you were not judged on anything but your performance and
That's
your
all.
character.
That's all.
Like you could have the weirdest sexual proclivities. Like people would on staff duty. I saw things that I can never unsee.
Tell me about it.
But
tell me about it, Roger that.
But the most important thing was that your performance and how you treated your brother and your sister is how you were actually judged.
That's all.
And that was it. Your
That's
performance. It didn't matter what color you were. It didn't matter. And people are like, oh well,
what your accent was, or
it doesn't.
Yeah,
who
you
work?
I had roommates that were from Maine. I had roommates that were from Alabama. I had soldiers that were from Alaska. I had soldiers, that were from, surfers in California. You had people of all different faiths and denominations.
Yes, sir.
Like my chaplain's in the chat room right now. Shout out to like my main man Derek.
Yes, sir.
And we had guys that were Odinists, Wiccans, Satanists,
Talk to me,
Catholics,
brother. We didn't
Presbyterians.
care.
It didn't matter because your performance
what are you gonna do on the battlefield
and your character
were
what led. And if you were a man of poor character,
we holler at you.
People like admonished you. People admonished you to try and make you a better person. Iron sharpens iron, and I think that we miss that now. We're missing that. We get too wrapped up in identity, and not in much in integrity, and not in much in character.
And ethics.
You know what?
We need to. And like Martin Luther King said, I would rather be judged by the character than the color. And we need to live that. And we need to preach that to our kids and not get wrapped around monikers and titles and identities.
Brother,
we need to bring it back to like performance and character.
Sarge, and that's the end state. That should be the topic. That if we had an AAR right now, that would be the end state, brother. That right there. What you just said.
That's what this country needs. Yeah.
That's what I am highly convinced, sir. Correction, Sarge, that if 2/3 or 3/4 of the things that we spoke about tonight were implemented within our country, I bet you our country would be better off. The good thing about it, Sarge, is there's people like the two of you all. There's people like Bellavia. There's people like the other soldiers, Airmen, Marines, Coast Guard personnel that's out in the civilian sector right now. And we have to believe that they still hold these values true, which we currently hold right now, sir. That's the one hope that we have, brother. That's the one hope that we have.
Yeah.
And
that they don't fall victim. They don't fall victim to being a victim, right? Because a big part of our society, Toby and I have been very involved with a lot of military nonprofits and different military initiatives since we both have gotten out. But there's this concept of, oh, you're in the Army? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you're in Iraq? This victim mentality we've been fighting for 10, 12, 15 years of, you don't have to, I picked my job. I raised my hand, not once, not twice, but a lot of times.
By far. And 3-4 times, Roger.
Right.
That.
And it's like, don't feel sorry for me. You should be envious that you didn't get to do what I did, right?
Talk to me, brother.
But too many think they're owed something, right? Whether it's that free 6-ounce chicken on Veterans Day at Applebee's, or it's the whatever discount here or there, or just like, hey, you need to thank me for my service. I think the veterans that somehow have aligned themselves with that have gotten away from the characteristics and the attributes of honor and integrity and ethics and those things that we took for granted, but we lived every day when we showed up to that PT formation and every formation after.
Sarge, you know this as well as I do. President Kennedy asked what you can do for your country, not what your country can do for you. It seems like everybody, and we could bring up another topic if you want to, brother, but it seems like nowadays more and more Americans, they want handouts, even though they have the ability to work. They think everything is free. Everything is not free. If you're an able body, you should get up and work for it. And I believe that that's something else that I don't know if that's a psychological factor of codependence on whomever, but that's hurting us too, sir. That's hurting us also.
Oh yeah, this $1,400 check that everybody's gonna start getting this weekend that got passed today. Someone's paying for it. We're probably not. Our kids are gonna pay for it, but someone's got to pay for it. That money just doesn't come out of. I know the government loves to print it, but but no one's talking about whether this money, and it's definitely needed by some, probably not by all. But
it is.
Whether it's this or any other entitlement, right? Free college or this or that, no matter what it is, somebody pays for it. And it's not always going to go to the 1%, right? They're going to find they got good financial advisors, right? They're not going to pay for it. It's going to settle on somebody's shoulders, and those shoulders are going to be the next generation, right? Probably not ours, because it takes them so long to read. But we're paying for the past generations, right? So,
Sure, you're right. Right.
So that's what people seem to me, because we live in this world of instant gratification. I got
Talk
mine,
to me.
right? I got mine,
Right.
right? And I need it now, and I got to have it fast, and I got this phone, and I can send money, get money, do all that kind of stuff. And I need my news in 15 seconds. I don't even want to spend a minute to read it, and that is all leading itself to, just gimme, gimme, gimme. I want to be consumers, right? My pastor talks all the time about being a consumer, right, or being a supplier. And, our world is full of too much of consumers that just want to consume all the time and don't want to give out.
I concur. Sarge, can I ask you brothers a question, please?
Yes.
Send it.
By all means.
How did you all feel about what happened at the Capitol?
Well, as we said,
we differ a little bit.
Well, we did.
Okay.
We did a little bit. I think we both felt the same about what happened, and
yeah, no, both bothered.
Yeah, I said
both offended, both disgusted.
Yeah, I'm a constitutionalist, and I'll summarize it in the fact that if you're a constitutional patriot, you anything that tries to violate or stop the execution of the Constitution, you should be totally against, and that's what it was, right? It was whether we liked what was happening or not, right? That was a constitutional mandate that process happened, and there's nothing that justifies stopping it, whether that stopping was intentional or a spur of the moment or planned or accidental or whatever. That was still wrong in every sense of the word, right?
As a veteran, how did you feel?
Oh, it was disgusting for me to watch it. Toby, go ahead. I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, no, so I am an immigrant, and I believe strongly in the power of citizenship, and I am an immigrant to this country, even though I don't come from a bad country. But I'm an immigrant to this country because even though I'm from a great country, it is not as spectacular as this country. And I love the flag. I think the Pledge of Allegiance is a beautiful statement to show where you stand, as being a member of the social construct, of being a member of the social contract. And, I think those are important things. And it was absolutely heartbreaking to see the flag being utilized in a message of violence against itself.
Okay.
That's the stuff that we go free other countries from doing, right? Right, Omarr?
Yeah.
We go to other countries to stop people from doing that.
I was like,
yeah.
But I also think that, like in a lot of these situations that happened over the summer, I think the majority of people sending the message were not the ones carrying the message of violence. And, and I think that the message that some people were by their presence being there, I'm not talking about people smashing in windows and climbing through doors and beating people to death with flagpoles. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a lot of people went to a rally thinking that they were going to see the president of the United States give his last speech, and didn't go there with the intent of inciting an insurrection. And they didn't go there with the purpose of, bringing violence upon fellow Americans. So like, I'm forgiving of a lot of people that were present. But I think that the people that did, Mr. Buffalo Chop guy and, the stupid shaman and all the like ass clowns that did all the stupid thing, I mean, they should get what everyone that commits that crime should get. And I watched the police report, the FBI, press briefing, as they just picked off 2 more of those guys in Houston yesterday. I'm like, good. I'm glad they're going after them. They shouldn't be exempt from punishment. Just like I don't think the people that attack the courthouses every night for 100 nights in Portland should be exempt from punishment. You do the crime, do the time. But I also think that the people that attack the courthouse in Portland for 100 days don't represent the majority of Portlandians. I think the people that, attack the Capitol building on the 6th of January don't represent the majority of people that, supported President Trump. And, there are policies of President Trump that I'm a huge fan of. I'm a small business owner, so like I like the fact that I can get opportunity to have employees and to help them thrive. And like during the pandemic, the opportunities that he was trying to create in terms of like cutting down on payroll taxes and stuff like that was helping me keep money, cash flow in the accounts, so like my employees had food.
Proud. I think I just had an audio.
Yeah, you just had audio.
It's okay.
But like I was frustrated and so saddened when I saw the flag of our country being utilized against our country, and that's the wrong answer, and that was heartbreaking.
Okay.
That was heartbreaking.
Okay. Thank you for that reply, brother.
Yeah. It was. I imagine you felt the same way, Omarr. I can't imagine you felt any.
Oh my
bit
goodness!
different, right?
I thought my body was finna implode. My heart. I felt like, guys. You remember how I felt like right before you took contact, or you thought you were going to take contact? You get that.
Uh-oh.
It's okay, Sarge. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
You got me back?
Yep, got your video.
You get that feeling like right above your abdomen and right up under your ribs. I felt like that, and I'm like, this can't be happening.
But you know what, Omarr? I felt that way. Just do a different group, but I felt that way last year when I saw police having to run out of their police station in Minneapolis and being attacked, running, and just letting their place get burned, or like we talked about Portland, or the chop zone be set. A city the size of Seattle having it taken over and essentially declared an autonomous zone, not part of the United States of America. I was. Right, that's an insurrection. I was sitting there shaking my head going, how is this being allowed to happen in this country, right? And watching people being attacked in my own downtown Buffalo and in cities all across this country, where like people can't even walk to work or school without being attacked or whatever. And then seeing that happen was just like, one, it showed that not one side or the other, if you were to say they were on sides, was immune or above it happening, right? Of just people being a-holes. But whether it's a city hall, a couple blocks of a neighborhood, right? People being shook down to go into their own house because they happen to live there, or the Capitol building, having the windows broken out when it's an open public building anyone can walk into, right? Having that happen was just, the Capitol on January 6th was just the icing on the cake. To me, it was leading up to that all year long, right? It was a matter of time. It didn't matter who it was. If they walked in there with an Antifa flag, a BLM flag, a gay rights flag, an American flag, it was bound to happen because people kept wanting to push the envelope. They were trying to see what they could get away with, and I think that was the end result. And today, we still have 5,000 National Guard soldiers against the wishes of the Director of National Guard still sitting in D.C. and has D.C. locked up tighter than our own southern border with concertina wire. That's making me just as sick, Omarr, to see concertina wire wrapped around our Capitol.
Around the Capitol. That's
the people's city, right? How many times have you been to D.C.? You and I were both there at the same time. You could walk anywhere. I could go sit on my wife, we were down there at that ceremony. She went the night after 2 nights after the ceremony with other ladies from there, other wives of the guys that were in your platoon. They went to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial at 2 o'clock in the morning while we were down at the bar. We were down at the bar with bells. They were out there sitting there looking at the city, right? That you could walk down to the Vietnam Memorial. You could go anywhere in that city you wanted. Now, and March 11th, 2 months plus after that thing, we still have our national capital locked down like it's freaking Baghdad.
I do not want to. I don't want to ponder on what we spoke of earlier, but I'm gonna say this and be done with it, sir. United we stand, divided we fall. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It doesn't get any simpler.
6 words that mean a lot.
It means a heck of a lot. Yeah. I caught myself, Sarge.
No, you can say it.
Means a heck of a lot, sir.
You can say it.
It means a heck of a lot.
I'm sure Bell's heard you say a lot worse.
Well, he's
more than consumer wire. Like we got to get away with that. We have to like get back to shaking hands.
We have
each other in the eye.
We have to
sitting down, having dialogue. Not talking across a fence to each other. We need to sit down, break bread, eat coffee, drink coffee, eat scones. If you're a northerner, and get back to being, civil with each other. And
brother, we have to, and hopefully, what we're doing right now, what People Bell is doing, these are the preliminary stages of instances like that to come. Guys, America's not going to hold if we stay divided.
Yeah, it's not going to hold if we stay in this path. Something's got to change.
It's not.
Now, I got one more. It's been going an hour and a half. I got one more, probably the most important question.
We've been on, did you say an hour and a half,
We've been going an hour and a half, man.
Yeah. Guys, I'm sorry.
Dude, hey, we'll go however long you want to talk, and we're sorry for keeping you going. But I have one really important question we haven't asked tonight. Are you a Giordano's guy?
Sarge, negative.
What?
Okay, I said negative. I mean, if somebody were to buy it, and if I were hungry, yes. I'm more of an Italian Fiesta and a home run in guy.
Okay, all right.
Okay, and God willing, as they say in the Middle East, inshallah, when I see you brothers in Chicago, I want to take you to home run in or Italian Fiesta, sir.
Okay.
What's home run in? Talk to us about the composition of that
pie. Okay, when you say pie, you mean pizza, correct, sir?
Yes.
Right. No, I'm sorry, Sarge. The ingredients of the dough that they use, of course, they have thick, thin crust, and pan. But they do something with the dough, Sarge, and their sausage is exceptional. Home run in is more in the correction. Italian Fiesta is more in the inner city. So, and brother, when y'all come to Chicago, y'all gonna go anywhere y'all want to with me. So don't worry about nothing. Y'all gonna be like, matter of fact,
y'all probably get a free train ride. I'm just saying, we know the guy driving.
Yes, my brother. Yeah, I will make sure my fellow brothers are fine. Yes, sir.
That's good. All right. Well, I just had to know because I last time in Chicago, I was diving into Giordano's and some of that crazy popcorn. They're big on popcorn there too, on them flavors.
Did you have cheese or caramel, sir?
It was one of them popcorn places. I don't know. My wife's like, we got to buy some of this popcorn. It was like 17 different flavors. I don't know what it was.
Yes, sir.
But awesome. Well, hey, Omarr, we want to wrap up. Just hang on for a little after we close. We'll chat with you for a few minutes after if it's okay. But I want to thank you so much, man, for coming on. We didn't, as I said at the start of this, we kind of, made this happen today after we were both on Dave's show.
Yes, sir.
I wasn't, and like every interview I think we do, we come in with a couple ideas what we're going to talk about, but man, we
just go everywhere.
we took a lot. And you know what? You offered to come back on again. I think we will definitely take you up on that because it has been awesome talking with you tonight, man.
Hey, Sarge, if I can fellowship with my fellow veterans in any aspect, I'm willing to do it. Not only that, Sarge, you all were fair. I thought you all would go in other directions. You all were really fair. But hey, Sarge, we have a lot to talk about, sir. Yeah. I believe from the depths of my heart, folk like the three men right here, we can get this country back on track, sir.
Hey, you know what, man? Before any of this other stuff, before all that stuff, before any of that, we were Americans. Right? Or Americans and Canadians. We were Christians, right? We were soldiers, right? And all that happened well before anything else ever happened. And when it comes down to it, right, that's what we're going to lean back on. And
hey, Sarge, can I say this before we depart, sir?
Yeah.
I got one more thing, too.
Yes, sir. Yes, Sarge.
Don't forget.
I'm listening.
Don't forget to share anything you want to draw light upon. This is your opportunity as well. Don't forget that.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, man. I didn't know I was black until I came back stateside. While being in the military, I didn't know I was black. As crazy as that sounds, I mean, I told you I was Sergeant Major said. I think he just kind of shook me a little bit, so I told him that I was black, but I didn't feel like I was black while I was in the military. I just felt like I was an American.
Did you feel like that? You felt like that since you come back, though?
That I'm black?
Yeah.
Oh, by far.
You get reminded of that all the time, you think?
Yes, sir.
Just through
not all the time,
just
but
through culture and whatever's happening?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. And I'm not trying to gain sympathy or anything like that, brothers. No, I'm not. And, Sarge, my brothers Daniel Mathers, Jason Zumick, Mike Taylor, oh, these guys are veterans just like you and I, and they still try to keep me straight and forward as far as the Army Corps values of leadership, what that type of stuff means.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to cut you all off.
No. Hey, Nick Nicholson said something about you being a great singer. So I don't know.
You know what?
We got some of your fans in the chat, so
we
may have to get you singing next time.
Hey, sorry. Nick Nicholson is a Marine, pararescue guy, great American. Yes, sir. I hear you, Sarge. Right. Thank you, brother.
Anything you want to shed light on? Anything you want to let our viewers and listeners know about? Anything that's close to your heart that you just think they need to hear about, or an effort or an initiative that's going on?
No, I just want the country to come together, bro.
That's
all.
Awesome.
That's all.
Awesome. Well, hey, Omarr, again, thank you so much, man. We appreciate you giving us, all this time, and know that we've got contact now that we will look to have you on again.
Likewise, sir.
We don't know what the topics would be, but I have no doubt we could fill another hour and a half, right, talking about stuff. And you are a hell of a man and a patriot, and I've spent a lot of time with Dave since last June, and we've talked about you a number of times, and we talk about Big Smoov, and he's told me so many stories, and I've spent a lot of time talking to Fitz and Chuck Knapp and all those guys, and just so many of them I got to meet there last year. So it'd be great to stay in contact. And again, thank you so much, man. I appreciate you turning this around real fast for us.
Thank you, Sarge. I appreciate you, brothers.
Right.
Toby, thank you, doctor. And when I say doctor, it's not like actual doctors, kind of what we say in Chicago, doctors like good friend or my patriot brother.
Oh, all right. There we go. Like those guys working in the Haji market be like, Son Major, my friend, buy some DVDs.
Exactly, Roger.
Hey,
I forgot about.
Hey, Colonel.
Haji,
hey, Colonel.
Roger.
Yeah, hey, Colonel.
Right.
I got DVDs. I got Star Wars.
Right.
That's it. I have a double barrel shotgun. You like to buy.
Right. Right.
All right, man. Well, take it easy. Everyone stay. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, giving us an hour and 40 minutes on your screens and in your ears. Be sure and tune in with us next week here on Stu and the Nunn, 8 o'clock Eastern. Come back every week and stay on our blogs, all of our socials, Facebook, Instagram, and everything like that. Tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your family. We love you all. See you all next week. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Stu and the Nunn Show, and we hope.
Did you tell me to stand by?
As we did hosting it for you. Don't forget to like our Facebook page and follow us on Twitter. You can find all these links at stewandthenunn.com. We will talk to you again next Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. Also, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Commodity Outdoors, Veteran Outdoors, Enlisted 9 Fight Company, Warrior Media Solutions, and BooHammer.com. Thank you again, and have a good night.